Hey there, language learners. Welcome to Mic to Mouth, your ultimate guide to speaking and writing English with confidence. This is M2M, where we turn your words into power. Whether you're just starting out or refining your fluency, you're in the right place. Every episode, we break down practical tips, real-life conversations, and expert tricks to help you think, speak, and write like a pro. So if you're ready to level up your English, grab a notebook, hit subscribe, and let's make every word count. This is Mic to Mouth, where your voice finds its strength. Let's begin.
You know that feeling, right? You've been learning English for ages. You can follow movies, maybe read stuff, understand people talking, but then you go to speak.
Yeah.
And there's that hesitation. Feels like every single thought has to go through your native language first.
Yeah, that internal translation step. It's a huge barrier we saw across all the materials. It makes you pause, speak slower, and honestly, it really just chips away your confidence. Makes you feel less fluent, less like the words are just there, on the tip of your tongue.
Right. It's so frustrating, feeling like you're always chasing your own thoughts. So what's the big takeaway then? How do we actually break that habit?
Well, the consensus, looking at the research and the practical guides, it really points to one thing. You need to train your brain to think directly in English. It sort of bypasses that whole clunky translation machine in your head.
Okay. So that's our mission for this deep dive then, to unpack those methods, the proven ways from the sources you looked at, to actually do that, to get from translating to just thinking in English with stuff you can start doing right away.
That's exactly it. We're diving into how you make that switch. It's crucial.
Let's start with the why, though. I mean, okay, avoiding the slowness is obvious. But why else is thinking directly in English such a big deal for fluency?
Well, one thing the sources really hammer home is that every language has its own unique structure, its own rhythm, its own way of putting ideas together. When you translate in your head, you're often trying to cram English words into your native language's sentence patterns.
Okay. That probably sounds a bit off.
Exactly. It can sound really unnatural, sometimes even confusing. But thinking in English helps you internalize those English patterns more, organically. You're not constantly trying to map rules from one language onto another.
So it's deeper than just speed. It's about building that intuitive feel for how English actually works. Sounds like a pretty major step. And I guess it doesn't just happen. It takes real conscious effort.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a skill you build over time. And a core principle that came up again and again in all the advice was immersion and consistency.
Immersion makes sense. Just surround yourself with English.
Precisely. The more English you hear, read, see, the more your brain just starts to absorb its patterns, its sounds, its vocabulary. Naturally, it kind of primes your brain, makes it easier to pull out those English words and structures when you need them. We saw lots of examples, simple things like changing your phone settings to English.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
Listening to English music, podcasts, watching TV shows, maybe using English subtitles less often,
right.
Reading books. One article even suggested putting little English labels on things around your house, chair, table, window.
Labels. That's so direct. Connects the thing straight to the English word. Simple. And consistency. How important is that part?
It may be the most important part, honestly. All the research on learning skills points to this. Frequent, short practice beats infrequent, long sessions every time. Think about exercise.
Right.
Going to the gym for 5 hours once a month, probably not going to do much.
Right, you won't see much change.
But maybe 30 minutes every single day. That adds up. It compounds. The sources really emphasize that even just a little bit of daily effort to think in English builds these lasting connections in your brain. Consistency is definitely key.
Okay, so immerse yourself, do it consistently, makes sense. But
Yes.
the big question is still how. How do you actually start thinking in English if your brain's default is always to translate first? It still feels a bit, I don't know, abstract, maybe a little intimidating.
Yeah, that's totally normal.
Yes.
And that's where the practical techniques come in. What the experts and even other learners sharing tips really stress is start small, really small.
Small, okay. What's the very first, simplest thing the sources suggest?
Start with just single words. Seriously, it sounds almost too basic, but it works. Look around you, wherever you are right now. Just mentally name the things you see. In English, computer, mug, window, tree. Start with nouns, then maybe add simple verbs. Sun is shining, car is driving. One teacher quoted, Charles Thomas, basically tells students to make it a quiet, constant habit all day long.
Huh. Like building little mental flashcards constantly.
Exactly. It trains your brain to make that direct link, object do, English word, no detour through your native language.
Okay, but what if I look at something and I just blank? Don't know the English word. Do I just stop?
No, that's actually a great practice opportunity. Don't switch back to your native language. Instead, try to describe the thing you don't know the word for, using the English you do know. So if you forget garage, you might think, the place inside, next to the house where I put my car. Or it's like a room, but for the car. You can use phrases like, it's similar to, or it's the opposite of.
So you're working within English, using what you have to get the idea across, even just in your head.
Precisely. You're not letting that one missing word stop you. You're problem solving in English. It's a fantastic exercise, really, no matter your level.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so single words describing things you don't know. What's next? How do you build up from there?
The next step is starting to string those words into simple sentences. Just describe what's around you or what you're doing. Basic English statements, it's a nice day, that person is walking fast, I'm drinking water. It might feel a bit, simple or even childish at first.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's building that fundamental habit, forming complete thoughts directly in English without the translation filter.
And then you just make them more complex over time, I guess.
Exactly. Once those simple present tense sentences feel easy, start layering. Add adjectives. It's a beautiful sunny day. Change the tense. Yesterday, I drank coffee. You can even start asking yourself little questions internally. What will I have for lunch? It's about gradually stretching those simple English thoughts.
Okay, and another technique that jumped out from the sources was using those kind of everyday moments, the routine stuff.
Yes. That's a brilliant one. Using those times when your brain is sort of on autopilot, showering, commuting, washing dishes. These tasks don't need much conscious thought, so they're perfect opportunities to slot in this English thinking practice.
Right, like the brushing teeth example you mentioned. Tell me that again.
Yeah, so as you're just going through the motions, you narrate it silently in your head. Okay, bathroom. Where's the toothpaste? There it is. Picking up the toothbrush, putting toothpaste on. Okay, brushing now. Left side, right side. Tastes minty. It sounds really basic, maybe even boring.
Yeah, a little.
But what you're doing is constantly associating those everyday actions and objects with English words and simple sentences. You're wiring it in.
So you're basically providing this running commentary on your own life, just in English, whenever your mind might otherwise wander.
Exactly. And a related idea is using English to mentally summarize parts of your day or to plan ahead, like mid-morning, quickly think, okay, I woke up, had breakfast, answered some emails, simple past tense, or think about your evening plans. After work, I will go shopping, then I will make dinner. Using future tense, you can do this multiple times a day. It gets you practicing different tenses and thinking about connected sequences of events.
Okay, so a lot of this is happening inside your head, which is great. But what about actually, speaking? Does that fit into this brain training?
It's definitely a related and really valuable part of the practice. Thinking silently helps build that direct processing, but speaking out loud trains the actual production side.
Yeah.
Getting the words out, making the sounds. And the good news is you don't always need someone else to talk to for this kind of practice.
Right, which is helpful if you don't have easy access to speaking partners.
Yeah.
So how do you practice speaking English out loud by yourself?
One technique that came up strongly was using a random question generator online. There are loads of free ones. You just click a button, it gives you a question like, what's your favorite season? Or describe your dream job. And then you just start talking immediately. Aim for maybe 60 seconds. The key here isn't perfect grammar or finding the perfect word. It's just fluency. Getting the words flowing.
Speed over perfection in that moment.
Yeah.
Just push past the hesitation.
Exactly. Don't stop to edit yourself while you're speaking. You can always record yourself if you want, and then listen back afterwards to notice things you want to work on. But the main benefit of the exercise itself is forcing yourself to speak spontaneously, using the English you have. It really connects the thinking practice to actual speech production. Doing this just a few minutes, a few times a week, can make a big difference.
Okay, that makes sense. What about something more visual? Any techniques there?
Yeah, describing images. Just find a random picture online. Google Images, Pexels, whatever. Look at the photo and just start describing what you see, out loud or silently if you prefer. There are 3 people. They are sitting on a beach. The woman is wearing a red hat. Maybe they're on vacation.
Yeah.
Start simple, then add detail. Maybe speculate about what's happening. It gives you a concrete thing to talk about and pushes you to access vocabulary.
Kind of like the internal narration, but prompted by a picture, and you can say it out loud. And I suppose you could do the daily summary or planning out loud, too, if you're alone.
Absolutely. If you've got the privacy, speaking those summaries or plans is great practice. And another related idea is practicing thinking in conversation out loud. Imagine talking to someone. Ask yourself a question they might ask you, and then answer it out loud. It sort of simulates that back and forth and gets your brain used to forming responses in real time.
These all sound like really practical ways to make it more active, connect the thinking to the speaking. The sources also mentioned using the English stuff we consume podcasts, videos more actively for this training, right? Not just passively listening or watching.
Exactly. Turning that input into active processing. So say you're about to listen to a short podcast episode on a topic. Before you hit play, take just a minute or two. Brainstorm in English. Any words or ideas you already know about that topic, just jot them down or think them through, no translation.
So you're kind of activating what you already know in English before you get the new info.
Precisely. You're priming your brain for English related to that topic. Then listen to the episode, really focus, and immediately after it finishes, quickly try to summarize the main points you understood, again in English. Maybe just bullet points or like a little mind map. This forces you to recall and process the information using English, linking the new stuff to what you already know. It really helps build those connections. Talking about it with someone after is even better, of course, but just doing that brainstorm and summary yourself is a powerful step.
Yeah, that sounds way more engaging than just letting it wash over you. What about for videos? A similar idea.
Pretty similar. Find a short video, maybe just the first minute. Watch it without any sound first. Just focus on the visuals. Try to think or maybe even write down what you see happening. Describe the scene, all in English. If you see something and you don't know the word, try looking it up using an English-to-English dictionary or even an image search for that concept. Stay in English.
Keep yourself immersed in the English environment, even when looking things up.
Exactly. Don't break out into translation. Then watch that same minute with the sound on. Now you're hearing the language connected to the images you just focused on. It helps solidify new words and phrases because you have that strong visual context.
That sounds like a really efficient way to pick up vocabulary and link it directly to meaning, bypassing the translation urge.
It really is. And just one more supporting habit that seemed to underpin a lot of this, mentioned in various places, just taking simple notes. Keep a little notebook or a note on your phone. Aim to jot down maybe 5 or 10 new words or useful phrases you come across each day. And crucially, try to note down the situation where you heard it or needed it. That context really helps lock it in your memory. And yeah, if you can, using an English-to-English dictionary keeps your brain working fully in English mode.
Okay, wow. So that's quite a toolkit we've unpacked. Starting super small with single words, describing things you don't know, narrating your day, summarizing, planning. Using random prompts or pictures for speaking practice, engaging actively with podcasts and videos, and keeping track of new vocab.
That pretty much covers the main practical techniques we found. But there's one final piece of advice, maybe the most important actually, that came through from everyone who successfully made this shift. You have to be patient.
Patience,
Yeah.
right, because you're literally rewiring how your brain handles language. That's not going to happen overnight.
Exactly. It's not like flipping a switch. You probably will notice small changes fairly quickly. Maybe after a week, you catch yourself thinking a single word in English without trying. After 2 weeks, maybe it happens more often. After a month, maybe simple sentences start popping into your head automatically. But that real, significant shift where it feels much more natural, where the words feel readily available, that comes from the cumulative effect. Consistent daily practice over, say, 90 days, maybe longer. It's like stretching for flexibility, right? Each individual stretch doesn't seem like much, but do it consistently, and over time, the change is huge.
It's definitely a long game, a marathon, not a sprint, like they say.
Yeah.
But knowing that those small, consistent efforts really do add up, that's actually really motivating, isn't it?
It really is. By just integrating 1 or 2 of these simple techniques into your day, even for just 10 or 15 minutes, you are actively training your brain. You're building that direct pathway for processing information and expressing your thoughts in English. It builds the automaticity that really underpins fluency and, yeah, boosts your confidence hugely.
So for everyone listening, the big takeaway here is that getting past that constant translation isn't some magic trick. It's a skill you can build deliberately. Thinking in English is the goal, and these sources give us a really clear path full of simple, consistent things you can do to get there.
Absolutely. And maybe here's a final thought for you to take away today. Just think about all those techniques we talked about. Naming objects, describing pictures, narrating your shower, actively listening to something. Which one of those feels like the easiest thing you could start doing? Like today or tomorrow morning? Just pick one. Commit to trying it consistently, even for a few minutes each day. And just imagine the difference that single, small, consistent effort could make over the next month or the next 3 months.